And again, power departure is 135.
Hi.
Hello, welcome. Or I should welcome myself, I guess.
Well, welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, folks. Welcome to our second day here in Charleston, South Carolina. Today is going to be a bit different. Yesterday we were in the actual historic city. We're still doing something very historic, just a little bit offshore here in the Charleston Bay. You can see the city over here. To the distance, of course. But where we are right now is a very, very important place in American history. If in your history classes you've heard about the Civil War, where the Union and the Confederacy were at odds against each other, the North and the South, this is where it all started. This is Fort Sumter. I'm proud to say it, I was the first one off of that tour boat. So we are going to be here for the maximum amount of time we're allowed. 1 hour. So I made sure to get up here and have us explore this tiny little garrison military outpost for as long as we possibly could, given the limited amount of time we have. But as you can see, this is the Atlantic Ocean. All the way over there, thousands of miles away, are the continents of Europe and Africa. But you'd have to sail a long way just to get from all the way there to right here. Charleston was a major city in the first half or so of American history. It was a huge port, and I think today it still stands as a very major port for the Southeast. But back in the late 1700s, first half of the 1800s, Charleston was really where it was at. It was in the top 5 of American cities. And so this Fort Sumter was built to protect from foreign invasions. They didn't want Charleston to be invaded because, I mean, being a port city, you want your port cities to be protected at all costs. Because if you have access to trade, you have an upper hand in any military strategy. Little did people ever know that this Fort Sumter would eventually, instead of a foreign invasion, be the center of an internal conflict. The Civil War, of course. Now you may notice the flag above us isn't the 50 star flag that we see on American flags today. No, this is the 33 star flag from the year of 1861, the year in which this Fort Sumter was attacked.
Pretty much original, what you're looking at right here.
From the, wow, like 1850s, 1860s?
50s would be a good point. They had it pretty much bricked up by 1850.
I see, wow. We're walking through one of the oldest parts of Fort Sumter. And it's a perfect area to tell you all about the background leading up to the Civil War. So first I'm going to say this geography influences so much about world history because the South had the climate suitable for farming. That's what led to the southern states adopting slavery, a moral wrong, while the North had an economy based off of primarily manufacturing. States became admitted into the Union one by one. There was this big question: would they become a free state or a slave state? Numerous compromises over the years tried to alleviate a lot of the tension, but a lot of this polarization that grew and grew and grew could not be avoided. Eventually, in 1860, after the election of Lincoln, South Carolina was the first state to secede from the Union. And after many more states joined South Carolina in the effort to form the Confederate States of America, Fort Sumter was attacked, and it became a huge symbol of the fighting cause of the South. I mean, it became a huge symbol of the Civil War in general, North or South. So there we have it. A big, large, open fort. Lots of tourists, of course, but it's amazing just how much historical significance this one fort holds. The attack on Fort Sumter was the pivotal point, which turned a lot of crises and aggravation, tension, to turn into full-scale war. The Civil War raged on, and the Union for this whole time tried to recapture Fort Sumter as it was originally a Union stronghold. It then became a Confederate fort for most of the Civil War. It was not only a great military stronghold, but it also was a very symbolic representation of the rebellion that had been going on for years. And it wasn't until the very end of the Civil War where Fort Sumter was recaptured as part of the Union. We do have to get off this little island area and back on to mainland South Carolina, because the tour boat is leaving any moment now. I should probably get on there. So let's get one last look at this beautiful view of Fort Sumter, where the first shots of the Civil War were fired. But don't worry, our second day here in Charleston is not over yet. I will see you when we get to our next area. As much as I'd very much like to end our adventures here in the Palmetto State with the palmetto tree, the tree behind us, that's an oak tree by the name of Angel Oak. This is believed to be over 400, 500 years old. Oh, the trees are kind of blocking the view, but this could very well be the largest and oldest tree east of the Mississippi River. I don't know how this tree was preserved in contrast to all the other trees in this area and around the country that got cut down, but it's amazing that this tree still exists in its grand magnitude. It really acts as this spindly monster among the rest of this forest. It is so large that you need wooden pillars to lift up just the limbs of the tree. Now, we're not technically in Charleston, the city limits, anymore. We're in a nearby island called John's Island, but this tree, just because of its significance, has become a symbol of Charleston, the area. Here on St. John's Island, it is a nice getaway from all the big crowds, even though there's a lot of tourists here too, but along these islands called the Sea Islands. You'll find them on the coasts of South Carolina and Georgia. Very secluded, away from all the developed towns of Georgia, South Carolina, generally the South. They provide amazing vistas for relaxation. Lots of preserved nature on these sea islands that are definitely worth the visit. We don't really have time for those on our southeast tour, but I would totally recommend going to one of these sea islands, namely St. John's Island right here. Wasn't today spectacular though? We really got to see quite iconic sights and views right here in Charleston, South Carolina. One cannot go to South Carolina without taking a look and visiting some of the places where South Carolina's iconic military history has taken place. Fort Sumter is just one of those many, many places. And then of course, speaking of history, I'm sure this Angel Oak has seen quite a bit of history from the colonial days, through the Civil War, through modern development. As I alluded to earlier, this is our last stop in South Carolina, the beautiful Palmetto State. Such a treat. I loved it. For our first new state of this trip, what a pleasure it has been to visit. So, with that said, we are on to newer states. We have plenty to see here on the Southeast Tour, and the adventure does not stop. Being in the vicinity of such an ancient tree like the Angel Oak, I'm really in awe. I mean, it just feels so spiritually magical to be within its territory. And I don't mean magical as in like, oh, the name Angel Oak. It just feels like the aura brings out something enchanting to me. I can't put my words to it, but there's just something so magically captivating about being in the presence of this Angel Oak. So with that said, our time in South Carolina comes to an end, as I said. So, standing up now in front of this hundreds of years old tree, the Angel Oak, on St. John's Island nearby Charleston, South Carolina. More travels to come. I will see you at the next location.